Hey everyone, I never thought I'd be posting here, but I'm in desperate need of some advice. Here's the situation. My name is Mike, and my soon-to-be ex-wife's name is Jennifer. We've been married for 10 years, and I thought we were solid. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but lately, things have been off. Jennifer and I met in college, and she was my rock through thick and thin. We've built a life together, a house, even talked about kids. But over the past year, I started noticing some changes in her behavior that didn't sit right with me. First, it was the late nights at work. Jennifer always had a demanding job, but suddenly she was staying late almost every night. Then, she started being secretive with her phone. She'd laugh at messages and quickly hide the screen when I walked by. When I asked her about it, she'd brush it off and say it was just work stress and that I was being paranoid. There were other signs, too. She stopped being affectionate, avoided spending time with me, and became increasingly distant. I tried talking to her about it multiple times, but each conversation ended with her getting defensive and accusing me of not trusting her. Despite my growing suspicions, I pushed them aside because I loved her and wanted to believe she was still the woman I married. I thought maybe I was overreacting, letting my insecurities get the best of me. But deep down, I knew something was wrong, and boy was I right. After months of feeling uneasy, I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I went through her phone. I know, it was a breach of trust, but my gut was screaming at me that something was wrong. One night, after she went to bed, I grabbed her phone from the nightstand and took it to the bathroom. My hands were shaking as I unlocked it. I went straight to her messages. There it was. A conversation with a guy named Brad. My heart sank as I read through message after message of flirty texts and explicit content. They talked about meeting up, how much fun they had together, and all the lies she told me to cover her tracks. She even joked about how clueless I was. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. My whole world shattered in that moment. I scrolled further and found pictures, dates, locations, all the evidence I needed to confirm my worst fears. It was like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I sat there on the cold bathroom floor for what felt like hours, just staring at the screen. I didn't know what to do. Should I wake her up and confront her right then and there? Should I wait until morning? My mind was racing with anger, sadness, and betrayal. Eventually, I put her phone back and went to bed, unable to sleep a wink. I kept replaying every conversation, every lie, every time she made me feel like I was the problem. I needed a plan, and I needed to confront her. The next morning, I was running on pure adrenaline and zero sleep. Jennifer acted like everything was normal, which made my blood boil even more. I waited until after breakfast when she was about to head out for work. I needed her full attention and no way for her to escape the conversation. "Jennifer, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She gave me a confused look. "Can it wait? I'm already late for a meeting?" "No, it can't," I replied, my anger starting to seep through. "I know about Brad." Her face went pale and she froze. For a moment, I thought she might deny it, but then she just sighed and sat down. "What exactly do you think you know?" "I know everything," I said, tossing her phone onto the table. "I saw the messages, the pictures, all of it. How long has this been going on?" Jennifer looked down at her hands and then back up at me, her expression hardening. "A few months," she admitted. "But you have to understand, Mike, I wasn't happy. We weren't happy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So instead of talking to me, you decided to sleep with someone else? How is that supposed to fix anything?" She rolled her eyes and leaned back in her chair. "Don't be so dramatic. It's not like you were a perfect husband. You're always working, always stressed. I needed something more." Her coldness was like a slap in the face. "You mean you needed someone else?" I snapped. "And what about all the lies, the late nights, the secrecy? Did you enjoy making me feel like I was losing my mind?" Jennifer shrugged. "You were losing your mind. And honestly, I was tired of pretending. Brad made me feel alive again, something you haven't done in a long time." I was stunned by her blatant disregard for my feelings. "So what now? Are you planning to leave me for him?" She smirked. "Maybe. But first, I think you should leave. Pack your things and get out. This marriage is over." I couldn't believe the audacity. "You're kicking me out? After everything you've done?" Jennifer stood up and crossed her arms. "Yes, I am. I want a divorce, Mike, and I want you out of this house by the end of the week." I stared at her, my heart breaking into a million pieces. This woman I had loved and trusted for so long had turned into someone I didn't recognize. But I knew arguing with her was pointless. I had to get out of there before I completely lost it. I still can't believe how cold and heartless Jennifer was during our confrontation. After she told me to pack my things and leave, I was a mess of emotions, anger, sadness, disbelief. I felt like my world was crashing down around me. I decided to take a walk to clear my head before I did something I might regret. As I walked through our neighborhood, memories of happier times flooded back. I couldn't wrap my mind around how things had gotten so bad. I was devastated and felt utterly betrayed. When I got back home, Jennifer was gone. She had left for work without another word, as if nothing had happened. I went straight to our bedroom and started packing my things. The entire time, my mind was racing. How could she do this to me? How could she throw away 10 years like it was nothing? By the time I finished packing, it was evening. I couldn't bear to stay in that house a moment longer, surrounded by memories of our life together. I left a note on the kitchen counter. "I'm leaving. I hope you're happy with your decision." Then I grabbed my bags and walked out the door. I spent the next few nights in a cheap motel, barely sleeping, just lying there staring at the ceiling. The pain was unbearable, and I didn't know how to cope. I felt like my life had been ripped apart and I was left to pick up the pieces. Then, one night, a thought crossed my mind. Why should I be the one to suffer? Why should Jennifer get away with everything she'd done to me without facing any consequences? I decided I wasn't going to let her win that easily. I started planning. I knew all our bank account details, our savings, everything. I decided to take control. I emptied our joint accounts, transferred all the money into my personal account, and vanished without a trace. It was a drastic move, but I felt like it was my only way to regain some sense of control over my life. I left town and moved to a different state, changed my phone number, and started fresh. I knew it wasn't the most ethical decision, but I felt justified after everything Jennifer had put me through. I needed a fresh start, away from the pain and betrayal. 3 years later, I was living a new life, trying to move on, when something unexpected happened. I was sitting in a bar one night, nursing a drink, when a man approached me. He looked official, like a detective. My heart started pounding. "Mike Thompson?" he asked, his eyes cold and unyielding. I nodded, trying to stay calm. "Yeah, that's me." Before I could react, he pulled out a stun gun and held it to my groin. "We're heading to Texas now, where you'll face trial for fraud." I panicked. My combat experience from my military days kicked in, and I quickly disarmed him, knocking the stun gun out of his hand. I made a run for it, but he was right on my heels. After I disarmed him and bolted from the bar, I knew I had to think fast. I ducked into a nearby alley, trying to catch my breath and think of my next move. The adrenaline was pumping, and I could hear the detective shouting into his radio, calling for backup. I needed to disappear again, and quickly. I had some cash stashed away for emergencies, so I headed to my car, grabbed my emergency bag, and drove out of town. I kept looking in the rearview mirror, half expecting the detective to appear behind me at any moment. I drove for hours, heading towards a remote cabin I'd rented under a fake name months ago. I knew I needed to lay low and figure out my next move. Once I got there, I locked myself in and tried to process what had just happened. The reality of the situation hit me hard. Jennifer had somehow tracked me down and was trying to get back at me for taking the money. I stayed in the cabin for a few days, trying to come up with a plan. I knew I couldn't stay there forever, but I also couldn't go back to my old life. I needed to find a way to clear my name and deal with the fallout. One night, while going through my emergency bag, I found a business card for an old military buddy named Jack. He had always been good with legal stuff and had some connections that might help. I gave him a call, explaining the situation in as much detail as I could without incriminating myself too much. Jack listened patiently and then said, "Mike, you're in deep, but I think I can help. Meet me at this address tomorrow morning. We'll figure something out." The next day, I drove to the location Jack gave me. It was a small, nondescript office building. Jack was waiting for me inside, along with a lawyer he trusted. We spent hours going over my options, discussing how to deal with the fraud charges and the potential fallout with Jennifer. Jack's lawyer friend Sarah was sharp and experienced. She laid out a plan to negotiate with Jennifer, offering her a portion of the money in exchange for dropping the charges. It wasn't ideal, but it was better than facing trial and potentially going to jail. We made the call to Jennifer's lawyer, and after some tense negotiations, we reached a tentative agreement. I'd return a significant portion of the money, and in return, Jennifer would drop the charges and agree to an amicable divorce. It felt like a hollow victory, but at least I wouldn't be spending the next few years behind bars. I followed through with the agreement, transferred the money back, and signed the divorce papers. Jennifer got what she wanted, money and freedom, and I got a second chance to start over. After reaching that agreement with Jennifer, I finally started to feel like I could breathe again. I wasn't completely out of the woods, but at least I wasn't facing jail time. Now it was time to focus on rebuilding my life. With the money I had left, I moved to a small town where nobody knew me. I rented a modest apartment and found a job at a local hardware store. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a fresh start, and that's what I desperately needed. The first few weeks were tough. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, paranoid that Jennifer might try something else, or that the authorities would find another reason to come after me. But as time passed, I started to settle into my new routine. I made a few friends at work, and slowly but surely I began to feel like myself again. During this time, I did a lot of soul-searching. I realized that while Jennifer's betrayal was awful, I needed to take responsibility for my part in the deterioration of our marriage. I'd been so focused on work and providing for us that I'd neglected the emotional connection we once had. That didn't excuse her actions, but it made me understand that relationships require constant effort from both sides. I started seeing a therapist, which helped me process the trauma and anger. Talking to someone impartial allowed me to work through my feelings and begin to heal. The therapist encouraged me to focus on personal growth and to find activities that brought me joy and fulfillment. I took up hiking, something I had always loved but never had time for. The solitude and peace of the mountains gave me space to think and reflect. I also joined a local book club, which introduced me to new people and helped me rebuild my social life. Through these experiences, I learned a lot about myself. I realized that I needed to be more present and engaged in my relationships. I also learned the importance of setting boundaries and not letting anyone take advantage of my trust again. One day, while hiking, I met someone who would change my life in unexpected ways. Her name was Emily, and she was as passionate about the outdoors as I was. We started hiking together, and over time, our friendship blossomed into something more. Emily was kind, understanding, and patient, everything Jennifer wasn't. Our relationship was built on trust and open communication. I was honest with her about my past, and she supported me as I continued to heal. Emily showed me what a healthy, loving relationship could be like, and for that, I was incredibly grateful. I'm still a work in progress, but I've come a long way since discovering Jennifer's affair. I've learned to prioritize my own happiness and to be mindful of the people I let into my life. It's been a long and winding road, but I've learned so much along the way. Here's what I've taken from this whole ordeal and some advice for anyone who might be in a similar situation. First and foremost, trust your instincts. If something feels off in your relationship, don't ignore it. I spent months convincing myself that I was just being paranoid, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. It's crucial to communicate openly and honestly with your partner about your concerns. If they dismiss your feelings or make you feel like you're crazy, that's a big red flag. Second, never underestimate the importance of self-care and personal growth. After everything fell apart, I had to rebuild my life from the ground up. It wasn't easy, but focusing on my own well-being and finding activities that brought me joy was a game changer. Whether it's hiking, reading, or anything else, find something that makes you happy and invest time in it. Therapy was another crucial step in my healing process. Having a neutral party to talk to helped me work through my feelings and gain perspective. If you're struggling, I highly recommend seeking professional help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a step towards healing and self-improvement. One of the most important lessons I've learned is the value of healthy boundaries. In my previous relationship, I allowed Jennifer to manipulate and control me. I ignored my own needs and let her disrespect me. Now, I'm more aware of my boundaries and make sure they're respected in my relationship with Emily. Mutual respect and open communication are non-negotiable. Speaking of Emily, she taught me that love should never feel like a battlefield. A healthy relationship is built on trust, support, and understanding. It's about being there for each other, not tearing each other down. If you're with someone who doesn't make you feel valued and loved, it's time to reconsider the relationship. I've also come to understand the importance of forgiveness, not just for others, but for yourself. It took me a long time to forgive Jennifer for what she did, and an even longer time to forgive myself for the mistakes I made. Holding on to anger and resentment only keeps you stuck in the past. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to move forward. For anyone going through a similar experience, know that you're not alone. It might feel like the end of the world right now, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Surround yourself with supportive people. Take care of your mental and physical health, and remember that it's okay to put yourself first. Looking back, it's hard to believe how much my life has changed since that fateful night when I discovered Jennifer's affair. It felt like my world had collapsed, and for a while I wasn't sure how I would ever recover. But now, standing on the other side of it, I realize that sometimes the most painful experiences can lead to the most profound growth. I've learned that betrayal, while devastating, doesn't define you. It's how you respond to it that shapes your future. When I first found out about Jennifer's infidelity, I felt like a victim. I was hurt, angry, and lost. But through this journey, I discovered strength and resilience I didn't know I had. I took control of my life, made difficult decisions, and emerged stronger for it. The importance of self-worth and self-respect became incredibly clear. I allowed Jennifer to make me feel small and insignificant, but now I understand that no one has the right to diminish my value. Setting boundaries and standing up for myself has been empowering. In my relationship with Emily, I make sure to communicate my needs and respect hers. It's a partnership built on mutual respect and love, which is something I never had with Jennifer. Forgiveness has been a crucial part of my healing process. Forgiving Jennifer wasn't easy, and it took a long time, but I realized that holding on to bitterness was only hurting me. Letting go of that anger allowed me to move forward. Forgiving myself was equally important. I made mistakes, but I've learned from them and become a better person. Another key lesson is the importance of community. The support I received from friends, my therapist, and even strangers on this platform has been invaluable. Sharing my story and hearing others' experiences helped me feel less alone and provided a sense of solidarity. If you're going through a tough time, don't hesitate to reach out for support. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to lend a helping hand. As I move forward, I'm focusing on living authentically and with purpose. I want to continue growing, learning, and building a life that reflects my true self. Emily and I are making plans for the future, and I'm excited about the possibilities ahead. Our relationship is a testament to the fact that love can be kind, supportive, and genuine. If I could offer one piece of advice to anyone facing betrayal or hardship, it would be this: trust in your ability to overcome. You are stronger than you think, and you have the power to create a better future for yourself. Take it one day at a time, lean on your support system, and don't be afraid to seek help when you need it. First and foremost, remember that you are not alone. Infidelity is unfortunately common, and many people have been through what you're experiencing. Reach out to friends, family, or even online communities like this one for support. Sharing your story can be incredibly healing, and hearing others' experiences can provide comfort and insight. If you suspect infidelity, trust your gut, but also gather evidence before confronting your partner. Having concrete proof can prevent gaslighting and denial, and it gives you a clearer picture of what's going on. When you do confront them, stay calm and focused. It's easy to let emotions take over, but having a clear head will help you navigate the conversation more effectively. Once the truth is out, take time for yourself. It's okay to step back and process your feelings before making any major decisions. You don't owe anyone immediate forgiveness or a swift decision about the future of your relationship. This is your time to heal and figure out what's best for you. Consider seeking therapy, either individually or as a couple if you're trying to rebuild the relationship. A professional can help you work through your emotions, understand the underlying issues, and develop a path forward. Therapy was a game changer for me. helping me move from a place of pain to one of growth. When it comes to moving forward, whether you decide to stay and work things out or to leave and start anew, prioritize your own well-being. Set clear boundaries and communicate openly with your partner. If you choose to stay, rebuilding trust will take time, patience, and effort from both sides. If you decide to leave, give yourself grace and time to heal. Starting over can be daunting, but it can also be an opportunity to create a life that truly makes you happy. Forgiveness is a personal journey. You don't have to forgive your partner immediately or at all if you're not ready. However, try to avoid letting anger and bitterness consume you. Holding on to those feelings can prevent you from moving on and finding happiness. Focus on your growth and well-being, and the rest will follow. Lastly, remember that this experience doesn't define you. It's a part of your story, but it's not the whole story. You are more than the betrayal you experienced. Use this time to rediscover yourself, to find what brings you joy, and to build a future that excites you. Thank you all for your support, advice, and kind words throughout this journey. Sharing my story has been a crucial part of my healing process, and I hope it can help others who are going through similar situations. Life has a way of surprising us, and even in the darkest times, there is always a possibility for a brighter future.